United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If there's anyone who would like to make public comment tonight, please invite me to come up and sign the the list here tonight, and we'll go down through that.
All kinds of help.
Thank you for the protocol.
There you go. Board Member Bartlett? Here. Board Member Bernstein?
Here.
Board Member Nigley?
Here.
Board Member Jordan?
Here.
Supervisor Stanley?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Approved. Supervisor's financial report for January 2013. Portion of general tax warrant, $450,000. Ambulance donations, 0. Ambulance fees, $4,520.74. Library rent, $300. Library electric reimbursement, $67.01. Police fees, $30. Justice fees, $10,875. Town clerk fees, $250.98. Zoning, $100. Building permit fees, $480. Planning, 0. Dog licenses, $45.50. Registrar, $60. Reimbursement for health, 0. Fuel reimbursement, $5,645.97. Mariner Tower, $762.20. Time Warner, $16,737.68. Miscellaneous revenue, $748.50. U.S. sales, UC sales tax, mill and steel, Pine Hill Water, Phoenicia Water, and FEMA reimbursement, all 0, for a total of $490,623.58. Any communications? Tetra Tech, they're going to give us a rundown tonight. Draft Town Flood Mitigation and Emergency Response Plan. Do I have those folks here tonight?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Welcome, everyone. I'm pleased to be sharing with you the latest developments with the Shandaken Flood Mitigation Plan. My name is Paul Miller. I'm with Tetra Tech. With me is Cynthia Bianco. We're going to be going over, sharing some information with you about where we stand with the flood mitigation plan. Cynthia.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here tonight. About 6 months ago, I was here talking to this group about the beginning of our flood mitigation planning process. We started about a year ago, last February, and we were hired as a consultant to come up with a detailed flood mitigation plan. I have some handouts up here if you want to take some afterwards, and I have a sign-in sheet, and it's very important since this is a public meeting and we are documenting the planning process for you to sign that sheet. So if you could do that before you go, I would appreciate it. I'll give you our real objective here is to talk to you a little bit about the results of our flood vulnerability analysis. We've been gathering data about the terrain here, the flood history, and we've come up with these maps in the back that Paul will be telling you a little bit more about later. We're going to leave the maps here and let you take a look at them. For those of you that weren't at the public meeting last year, I'll tell you a little bit about the flood mitigation plan. First of all, what's the problem? Well, I don't have to tell you that for many, many years you've had intense flood problems, and in fact, over the past 100 years, you've had much flood. Since 1950, you've had 18 presidentially declared flood disasters. So why are we here? Well, we were asked by the town to help you come up with a solid plan on how to reduce your future flood damages and how to reduce your vulnerability. What we want to do is we want to be proactive. You don't want to be reactive, okay? It's always good to be prepared. It's always good to know when a flood is coming, and if you have to get out of harm's way, but also we would like those of you that make your home here to be able to withstand flood without having your homes and your properties damaged. For every $1 you spend in mitigation before your disaster, it's been shown that you can save $4 in costs that would be spent without mitigation. Okay, so why are we doing this plan? You already are part, and you've adopted the Ulster County has all hazard mitigation plan. That has a flood mitigation component. So you are covered. Because you have approved that plan, you're eligible for FEMA pre-disaster mitigation funding, which means that if the town applies, or the county applies on your behalf for property buyouts, for certain eligible infrastructure projects, you know, then you're eligible to apply for a grant and potentially could have money to do that. So if you have that already, why do you want a flood mitigation plan? Well, the Ulster County plan looked at your situation, and you had a mitigation strategy which had 6 projects. What we're doing here is we're trying to give you a detailed analysis, and the result of this plan is going to be a detailed mitigation strategy with projects in 4 or 5 different categories: property protection, prevention, natural resource protection, emergency services, and structural projects. So we can go into that a little bit more later. Okay, in addition, this plan will help justify any codes and ordinances that may reduce your future flood hazard. Okay, what is mitigation? Well, we just want to break the cycle of damage here. Okay.
Let me ask you a question too, everybody. What is mitigation? Did anybody get a flu shot yet? Think about it. Anybody? Okay, we did. That's a form of mitigation, doing something now to prevent a problem in the future. So getting a flu shot, putting up a fence, doing something like that. Doing things now, we know what the hazard is that we're dealing with. Flood. What are some things that we can do? And this plan is going to have projects identified in there. We're taking the data. We're getting the most recent information from our partners in the federal government to come up with these maps. These are planning maps. FEMA is going to be coming up with the flood insurance rate maps early spring for Shandaken. So we're going to take that information and utilize that information to support these projects. So all you folks having input, being here, attending this meeting, talking about things, responding to the survey which we had put out there. We did get quite a few responses. Some of them were, you know, pretty funny answers to the questions. It made me chuckle, which was nice. Kept me on my toes. So that's what we're talking about mitigation, my friends, doing things now.
Okay. All right. So this planning process is being run by the town of Shandaken in conjunction with the Safari Group, which is a group of varied people that represent agencies, municipal elected officials, municipal employees, residents, and nonprofit organizations. In addition, we have Cornell Cooperative Extension, Shandaken Watershed Management, and a lot of technical people that are here to help feed us information and make sure that we're covering all the bases here. Okay. Another benefit of this plan is not only to have eligibility for the projects in your mitigation plan, the other benefit is this is a way to reduce your flood insurance, okay? By having an approved flood mitigation plan, because you're a Category C CRS community, which is a community rating system community, you need an approved flood mitigation plan that addresses your repetitive loss properties. So you will have that once we finish this plan and the town approves it. So what does the community rating system get you? It's a activity underneath the National Flood Insurance Program, and once the town is participating, they will get credits for all of their actions that they are doing to reduce flood vulnerability. Their mapping, their record keeping, elevation certificates, higher regulatory standards, ordinances, all these things are evaluated by the CRS and will help you reduce your flood insurance. So for instance, CRS is a 10-class program. For each class, you get a reduction of 5% insurance. We've looked at the situation and what you're doing, and we think that at least you'll be a class 8 once you get in the system, which means everyone would be getting 10% reduction in their flood insurance. You may go in even lower. You might get a 15 or 20% reduction. But not only do you get a reduction, what this is doing, it's giving the town an incentive to improve their resources and to improve their regulations, just to ensure that when there's new development or when you're making changes on your structures, that they're going to be built to the proper standards and you'll have less damage in the future. Okay, what are the deliverables? As I said, you're getting a flood mitigation plan. In addition, you've been asked to help you prepare a flood warning and response plan. It's very wise on the part of the town. It is certainly there to help response be more efficient at your next event, because you know there is going to be a next event. And I know the town officials are very diligent, very concerned to improve the response, to ensure that there are actual stated objectives and times when you will be either evacuating or getting warning. So it's all going to be summarized in this flood warning and response plan. That also will give you points toward the community rating system. And last but not least, we're going to support the town in submitting their CRS application. So it's a three-part project: the flood mitigation plan, the flood warning response plan, and support for the CRS application. Okay, that was just a brief overview of what we're doing. Public and stakeholder input is very important. As Paul said, there is a citizen survey on the Shandaken website. If you haven't already responded, we ask you to please respond. We're looking at all those responses, and we're actually getting ideas for mitigation projects from that, and we're finding out what you think your vulnerabilities are and so forth. At certain roads or bridges, or or just in general, whether or not you want property acquisition for your house, or you're interested in elevations. It's all very important. And the plan itself will be posted on the Shandaken website once the draft documents are available. And of course, you're welcome in your request to take a look at the plan. Okay, Paul, do you want to?
All right, my friends, let's talk a little briefly about the risk. We know what the risk is, and you can see the risk on the back on the maps. And the risk is color-coded as, my friends here from, you guys in high school? Outstanding, thanks for being here. The risk is flood. So what do you think the color code on the map is for flood? What do we see? A lot of blue over there. Good, outstanding. The vulnerability. What is the vulnerability? All of our homes, all of our businesses, this building, the firehouse that's in the flood zone that we're looking to get that thing squared away, moved, elevated, something such as that. That's the exposure. The vulnerability is the damage that can happen. So when we're talking with floods, we see the homes that are in there, the businesses and whatnot, that are exposed to this hazard. And so we map that. So now what is the information that we can get from this? This is the overlays. This is the FEMA tool that I briefly touched on that provides us with this data. We're also increasing the capability of Shandaken by providing this information, by providing this plan. The CRS assistance that we're providing, increasing the capability, the capacity of Shandaken to come up with this outstanding plan, to come up with some mitigation measures and projects to alleviate some of these things that are happening to us. Okay, because we're not going to stop that river. That river's going to keep flowing. That creek's going to keep flowing. There's nothing we can do, but we can mitigate, do some things now about it.
Let me tell you a little bit about those maps. So these maps, you'll see there's a little description on the bottom of what the information that was used for those maps. These are preliminary maps. They're for planning purposes only. They're not regulatory. Okay, so this is not affecting your flood insurance. It's not affecting anything. It's a tool for us to see what's in the vulnerable areas. Okay, what we used was, since you don't have digital flood insurance maps, as Paul said, you should be getting them shortly, sometime this spring. We used LiDAR to figure out the terrain. What? LiDAR, it's a
Land image recognition, I forget the exact acronym, but it's LIDAR. It's photographs from planes that check the topography, that take photographs and then can figure out elevations of the mountain here, this area over there. It's very digitalized and substantial photograph that's getting a lot of data.
Right, and that data is called a 3-meter LiDAR. So basically you've got that type of accuracy, 3-meter accuracy on your terrain. And we've used preliminary hydraulic data that we received through the DEC from FEMA. And that's how we came up with flood boundaries, okay? You'll be getting something that's more accurate from FEMA. But, as we're doing this plan, we needed a tool, and that's what we're using. Okay, so we'll give you an idea. When you look at those maps, you'll see it's the scales, I think, from 0 to 10 feet, and you'll see, the medium color blue might represent 1 to 2 feet of water, and you can see what roads, would be covered with water, and this is for a 1% chance flood, which FEMA used to call a 100-year flood. Okay, so it's not a flood that happens once in 100 years. It's a flood where we have 1% chance annually of having this.
And the data, again, came from different resources. Past events, that data is incorporated into HAZIS, the FEMA tool. Information that's shared through the Army Corps of Engineers. Information that is shared through the National Flood Insurance Program, which some of you in here may have repetitive loss properties, and there are repetitive loss properties in Shandaken that we have noted. Okay, those bring the project, if you will, of acquisition or elevation or what have you, any type of flood mitigation measure increases the benefit cost analysis. So we get a higher number, so this project is more looked upon more greatly by FEMA to allow this project to come to fruition. So when we talk about this HAZIS tool, what it does, again, it takes different layers. It takes our hazard area. What is the hazard area? Well, the flood inundation maps go out to this location, that location. Okay, what is our homes? What is in this area? Okay, then it puts another layer on top of that. It takes on the topography, puts a layer on that. Critical facilities, populates the critical facilities in there. So now we get a great snapshot of the hazard. Flood is going to affect these things. And you guys, from these maps, can take a look at what it's affecting in the hazards. Again, as Cynthia stated, the map is preliminary information for planning purposes only. The flood insurance rate maps are not out as of yet.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about repetitive loss properties. In your handout, you'll see that there is a snapshot of the location of the repetitive loss properties. That's one of the ways we address this, because as we go through our mitigation strategy, those will be the areas in your town that we would want to focus on to see what we can do to get those properties.
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm listening to both of you, forgive me my lack of education, but what are we talking about? What is for us to do? We heard about this could be, this is flood area, might be, this might be a flood area, it can't be. What are we doing? What is
We want to
effect?
identify projects.
All
What
right.
can stop this area from flooding? First, we have to identify the areas, which we did, and this is the development phase. You came in a little late, you didn't hear our beginning. This isn't a final product. This is the latest developments with the plan implementation, plan development.
What could affect it? How are we gonna stop it? Is that what you're saying?
Right, what projects are going to protect, let's say you're a repetitive flood loss property, what projects are going to protect your area, this person's area, the roadway from being washed out? What are some things we can do to prevent that from happening, to mitigate it from happening? Build a levee, build a detention basin, something like that. Elevate homes, acquire homes. You understand?
It sounds awful wonderful for me. After 50 years, I can't forgive me. I've seen this a million years. Nothing seems to work, I guess. But maybe you're right. Something will work.
What we have to do is make a
we gotta
plan. That's what we're doing. We're creating a plan, and then we're going to implement it.
That sounds like a wonderful plan.
It's definitely a complicated situation with a team of people. That's why
And you're right.
we have to.
All right, when Tetra Tech is over, if we can have a question and answer period, if that's,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, why don't we kick in right now?
you want to take questions right now?
I thought the topic was gun control.
Bill Burgess?
When are you people going to consider putting the bulldozers in the creek? bringing the gravel out of the stream and putting it backwards along, like was done years ago, so that we didn't have to have this problem in the first place. You've got thousands and thousands of tons of gravel that needs to be taken out of the waterway and put backward along, which would be good conservation, and it would be a meaningful move, and it would be something you could see, and something when you paid your money out, you got something in return for it.
Hey, that sounds like an awesome project. Did you answer, or did you
Yes,
include
it's an
that
awesome project.
in the survey?
But it'll do some good. What you people are doing, it's, you know, you're making a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of noise, but I don't see a lot of benefit. You might be able to go to the creeks and catch some fish, when you used to. Yeah, right, right.
you get nowhere.
Was that a question? What's that? Anybody else?
Any further questions for Tetra Tech?
The solution, like Bill said, is to get into the creek from Big Indian Pine Hill all the way down to Boyceville. To show all the maps you want, and mitigation, and this is how you do it. And all the tributaries have to be. Now in Phoenicia, after Irene and the other, that's Lee. We dug out from the firehouse all the way down past the bridge in town. And prior to that, we had 3 floods that flooded Main Street. And since then, we haven't had a flood there because they dug out the creek and they put it back where it belongs.
Right.
That's the mitigation. That's what you have to do. We don't need these maps to show us and all this presentation. They have to get in the creeks and clean them out.
Well, we have to put it in the plan, my friend. These are great projects.
50 years I've been
This is
here
what
in the
this is exactly what we
50
need. You
years
guys
I've been
to
here in
step
the
up and share the information with
I
us.
could talk over you. I know you're a good talker, but 50 years we've been
Please, Rick, keep it civil.
It is civil. I'm civil. 50 years we've been hearing this, and we're tired of it.
Well,
We want you, go see the DEC and the DEP.
I have to interrupt you, because these people were not brought here to do anything but help us develop a mitigation plan. They were brought here by me, Rob, and the town board to help us develop a mitigation plan and a purpose for maybe doing that. You have to have something else to start. You have to have something, well, actually on paper. One of the main reasons we're doing it is also to help people get reduced flood insurance. So, I mean,
Who has
this is
flood
the whole.
insurance?
What?
Who has flood insurance? What, 1% of the taxpayers in the town of Shandaken?
So, what about those people? You know how expensive flood insurance is?
Yeah, but 22 and 2,600 a year.
Yeah, so, would you like to be a little less if you were paying it? We're doing it, we're not getting paid to do this, we're doing this, they're getting paid by a grant.
Maybe instead of flood insurance, we could take some preventative action
Well, that's what
to
this-
take
this- that's
some
where
of
this
these
plan
homes
leads
that
to.
are near the flood zone and raise them up a bit.
That's what
Put
this
them up
plan-
on stilts.
You
This
gotta
is what
remember, a
people
couple years
do.
ago, we joined the county hazard mitigation plan, which made us eligible for a hazard mitigation fund, which did one project up in Woodland Valley by Torrance House. That was paid by FEMA hazard mitigation fund, which is through the county hazard mitigation plan. That's a whole county-wide hazard mitigation plan. This is a town hazard mitigation plan,
Yeah.
just for Shandaken.
Yeah,
So that's why it's very specific to our problems here.
yeah.
It's not the whole county.
Yeah,
So
because
this is
I
the first
think-
step of doing what you're talking about. You can't just go to FEMA, you can't go to the federal government and say, we want money, we want to raise this house and we will do that. You have to have some kind of an overall plan. And that helps you get the money, and it gives you a lot more credit for all the things.
Right.
Before you go do that. So this is the beginning of it.
Right, I agree.
I mean, you can't
because
just start yelling at these guys and then dredge the streams out. That's not the purpose, not the reason why we're here.
Yeah, we can't keep squabbling.
Yeah, we
can't
understand, but
squabble.
this is where you need kind of a focused plan on Shandaken, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Young lady in the back.
So if I understand you correctly, what the purpose of this presentation is to make sure that we can be eligible for the funds and for the federal help and for the state help. So we have to kind of do this groundwork in order to do the paperwork, to do these meetings, in order for all this to happen, so we can get the help that we need.
We
And that's
have-
what the purpose of this is?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're eligible for hazard mitigation fund and the 404 hazard mitigation fund through FEMA now, through the county hazard mitigation plan. But since we put another town-specific hazard mitigation plan on top of that, it makes us even more eligible, more specifically eligible for funding. And it helps us when we go for funding because we have identified these as specific problems to Shandaken.
So it's
to the
important
actual
for
plan.
ideas like the ideas that Phil presented, that's important to present to them. Like, this is the place to do it, this is the time to do it, to say, we need to dredge. Because that will be heard at this point.
See, this is where it gets real touchy. Some places you can dredge with no problem, probably, but other places you did, you cause more harm than you would good.
Well, you have to use
cleaned up out back,
traffic.
yeah, we cleaned up out back here, and we put the wall, and probably a foot or two below the gravel out back there is clay. So digging it out, you would just open up the clay beds. When we cleaned out the stream by Phoenicia, as soon as we got to by the firehouse, a foot or two below the gravel back there is clay. If you start digging deeper there, you're gonna destabilize the whole stream bed and the whole of the slopes. So it's not just going with a bulldozer, make a bigger wall. It doesn't work. It has to be done in very specific, order than that. And the biggest problem why the gravel's coming is the slopes upstream. You've got to stop the source of the gravel. So, I mean, these are some of the projects we're planning for Chichester this summer that we tried to get through at the end of last year and just couldn't make the permitting, we couldn't make some of the property owners and other problems like that. I think there's like $3.5 million worth of projects in Chichester by itself.
Yeah, there's been
And that stops the source of the gravel coming down and clogging up the streams down below and stabilizing the banks. So it's not just clean out the streams, you gotta stop the source of the problem. So it's not just little band-aids here and there, it's the whole town has to be dealt with, not just pieces of it. And that's what we're doing here is identifying all these problems. So then when we go to FEMA or DEP or County Soil and Water, all these other groups that have funding, it's understood that this is a problem area that needs to be dealt with, and it will help all the way down the line, not just this one little spot. So the problem in Phoenicia is not just that there's gravel building up and we need to go dredge it out every time. We got to stop the source of the gravel.